So I'm seeing more and more people asking about how to create slides that are kind of presentation slides for your classroom and wanting examples or how you do it. So here's how I do it. This is obviously not the only way to do it. But for me, I tend to do a grid. I do follow first steps in music primarily. So if you're familiar with first steps in music, it's about being tuneful, beatful, and artful, and it's a John Fireman based model. So here's kind of a typical layout of a kindergarten lesson. This is actually towards the beginning of the school year. I always start with beat keeping, and then I do my vocal exploration and that sort of thing. So how I create mine, I'll just show you with a blank slide, is I actually have my grid normally created, which is just a table, which I can show you on a different slide. But I normally from month to month change up my backgrounds, which I'll show you. But when I start from a clean slate, let's say, I'm going to delete that. I actually am just using the table, and I'm normally do a 4x3 grid for my kindergartners. Whoops, that did not. Let me try that again. I do 4 this way and then 3 down. And then I just make that to the size that I want. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's kind of how I create that. And then I highlight it separately. So for example, if I want it orange, I can go in here, make it yellow. I can make it green. Okay. Whatever colors I want, you can change the grid. Now this is using PowerPoint, but I'll do another separate one with Google Slides, which is very similar. I prefer PowerPoint. I know so many people like Google Slides, but I know I'm a crazy person, but Google tracks everything you do and everything you put on your Google account. If it is not your personal account, belongs to your school district. I personally don't like that. I spend a lot of time on my lesson plans. I know more than likely if I leave a district, they're probably not going to give it to the next person, but they can. They own every single thing. So I know I'm paranoid. I'm weird. Just my 2 cents. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to do this, but I prefer PowerPoint. Save everything in my Dropbox so I can use it from district to district, year to year. Anyways, moving on. Here's my table that I created. The reason I do a grid and what I like about the grid is that I actually color coordinate based on my learning targets. So my learning targets are literally tuneful, beatful, artful, notation. So for kindergarten, we don't do any notation. So the red are my tuneful blocks, green are my artful blocks, yellow are my beatful blocks. And I love that because then when my admin comes in, if I don't have learning targets up, I do have my posters that are color-coded, and at any point in my lesson, I can ask the student, what is our main goal? And they will raise their hand and they'll say, to be tuneful, and it is super impressive. I don't start day 1 with kindergarten, but definitely by January, they understand red means tuneful activities. So it's super cool. The other reason I do a grid is because you'll see that I add pictures. I actually do this K through 5, and it's not because my students can't read, but there are students that struggle with reading, and having the icons from week to week, day to day, really helps them to see when there's something new and when there's something old. You can Google different stuff. I personally have acquired a lot of clip art because I sell on Teachers Pay Teachers, but please do not buy clip art just for this unless you're going to sell it and you need the rights to it. That's just me. Okay. I'm a little extra. You don't need to be extra. So then I add text boxes and I add the clip art for each thing. You'll see that for me, I label each thing with what it is. So for example, vocal exploration group. So just to show you how I would make a slide. Again, mine have been made, so I lots of times am not recreating this from week to week. I am just copying and pasting and then editing a few things, which then makes the process a little faster. For example, if you look at this week and then you look at the next one, you'll see a lot of the same things. If you look at the week or the day prior, you'll see a lot of the same things, just maybe in a different order. So it really doesn't take me long. It's just creating the initial format. These are text boxes, and then I just insert the clip art. Okay, so that's just the general how to make the boxes. Let's take a look at if I want to add something. So for example, this song, I wanted it linked. So I just right click, edit link, and I can find the file that I link it to. What works best for me, and I will show you, is that I organize my month. So whichever one is my PowerPoint, I also put every single thing that I'm going to use in that same folder, so that when I'm linking stuff and I insert audio or I insert a link, it's all shows up here and I don't have to go digging and searching for it. That's just what works best for me. If I want to link, for example, this one's linked to this slide, I again can just right click, edit link, and then I go to the slide that I want it to be going to. A quick tip, if you really want to be extra and it really helps you to have it super organized, again, this is not something you have to do, but if you make this a title slide, whoops, how do I switch this to a title slide? I might have to edit this somehow. I have to remember how to insert title maybe. There is a way that you can edit this slide to be something else. Oh, it might be this layout. So you go to title only. Now it has a title and you can actually title it Hush Little Baby. And if you can make that small and you can drag it off so you don't see it, or you could put it behind so you don't see it. So I might just order this, if I can get it to send to back. Okay. The cool thing about that is if it has a title and you go to link it, you will actually see that it now shows up as the title name, and that makes it a little bit easier to link. Same thing here. I wanted to link this to slide 4, so it's linked to slide 4. So then when I'm presenting, which I have to set this separately so you can actually see it. Give me a second here. Escape. Go primary. Okay. Let's try it again. Okay, so then when I click on this, it will bring me there. I sometimes will add a back button. Sometimes I don't because I just run out of time or I get lazy. If there's, so for example, this one does. If there's a song, when I click it, it'll come up for me. All this saves a lot of time. Now, if you look at an older one, like 4th grade, you'll see that sometimes I have less, so I don't make as big of a grid. Again, I can insert slides, just link to the slides. Again, I can link to music. Sometimes I'll actually add, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll actually add an entire shape over the top so that you can click the whole box. And how you do that is you create the box, you link it to whichever slide you want it to go to. Then you have no outline and you go to format shape, fill. Why is it not doing it? And then you set it to 100 and then you don't see it. But if I go to view, I click and it brought me somewhere else. So kind of a cool feature as well if you want it to do an entire thing. But that is just a quick tutorial on how to create your own slides on PowerPoint. And even if you create it on PowerPoint, you can upload it to Google Drive. Quick tip.